God does not roll with dice. When evolution does not occur naturally, it is created artificially. In the beginning of the 21st century, Dr. Light shared with the world his most revolutionary invention, Proloman, a machine with limited AI capable of functioning as a normal human being, designed to be the next evolutionary leap for robotics industries. Several multi-million-dollar corporations came to Dr. Light and offered him funding in exchange for exclusive rights to his future research. But Light's successes also ignited a bitter rivalry between him and his former colleague, Dr. Wily, who would steal Dr. Light's inventions and pass them off as his own. This feud would later metabolize into a corporate rivalry as well, as their sponsors, Ultor Science and Black Mesa Corporation, would fuel their competition for corporate dominance over the rising robotics industry. The climax of their animosity led to the erasure of both companies. In a desperate attempt to prevent Dr. Wily's hacking, GLaDOS is activated, and rather than prevent infiltration from outside forces, GLaDOS killed most Ultor Science scientists, and Dr. Light barely escaped with his life. At Black Mesa Corporation, Dr. Wily became desperate to succeed on his own merits. He broke standard protocols and forced open an unstable portal to another universe. The portal led to an interdimensional alien invasion over the Black Mesa research facility, killing nearly everyone before Gordon Freeman managed to defeat the supreme leader of the invading forces. The Black Mesa incident almost led to the destruction of human civilization, as several portal storms opened across the world and nearly unleashed an alien armada across the planet. The portal storms were only cut off with the help of Monarch Solutions, a government-backed corporation centered around research of time manipulation. Witnessing the fall of Earth over the course of 7 hours, Monarch scientists sent security personnel back in time and forcefully closed access to Dimension Zen. This was only possible by permanently freezing the bordering dimension with chronon energy, therefore making Earth inaccessible by all interdimensional invaders. This action abruptly stopped any new possibilities for temporal portal research, as it became physically impossible to recreate the experimental portals of the past. This completely tarnished all portal-related research gained over the past decades, and all knowledge of portal research instantaneously became useless. Dr. Wily and Dr. Light fell into obscurity following these events, as both scientists were blamed and shamed for their roles in these catastrophes. Dr. Light spent the latter half of his lifetime improving cybersecurity, while Dr. Wily was sent to prison for tax evasion. Governmental restrictions on technologies were soon imposed, as the dangers of unrestricted scientific research became recognized by the scientific community. Another unintended consequence to the portal storms was the interdimensional radiation that fell over where the portals had closed. Despite being cut off from the astral plane, pockets of energy flickered across the world, contaminating certain human beings with paranatural abilities in what was later called First Light. Referring to these paranatural human beings as Radiants, these people held traits that went well beyond people's genetic capabilities. With the sheer amount of power that these people contained, the governments of the world soon had a security crisis at their hands, as any one of these Radiants were capable of committing mass acts of terrorism without any ability to apprehend them for their crimes. The largest radiation pocket occurred in New York City, Ground Zero. The ray blast shifted the population of New York during the wake of the Blacklight virus, giving the city the largest population boom of paranaturals in the world. Coincidentally, New York also headquartered an unsanctioned secret bureau dedicated to observing paranatural phenomenons from other planes of existence. With the mass creation of supernatural human beings, the Control Bureau is given full reign over what to do with these newly created conduit super beings. The Department of Unified Protection is created with the Bureau of Control's oversight. They systematically focus on making sure Radiants can't harm the civilian population, by labeling them all as bioterrorists. Tasked with kidnapping and imprisoning Radiants, the Bureau of Control soon spreads around the world and begins conscripting Radiants for their own specialized military purposes. The Bureau of Control had many other names that trace back to the medieval ages. The Illuminati, the Knights Templars, the Freemasons, the Majestic 12. In truth, Nearly all human progress could be traced back to a handful of secret organizations, paving the way for mankind's societal development. These secret societies existed, cooperated, and competed with one another for covert control over the world's populations. With the rise of revolutionary new technologies around the world, these societies soon reshifted their focus into manipulating machinery to better control the human population. In 2029, an Illuminati climate control facility in the Arctic region crashes to the bottom of the ocean. Unbeknownst to the world, this facility contained a deadly cyber virus, which could have corrupted millions of augmented human beings with mechanical and bodily shutdown. Blame is largely placed on radical terrorists, and a revelation of the virus is soon released for the public to know. Opinions are mixed, but various nations respond in diverse ways. In Asia, cybersecurity is expanded as cyber elves are created. Sentient computer programs designed to enhance network engineering to protect augmentation software from hacking. In the Americas, laws are placed against robotics research, making AI and human augmentation highly ostracized to the public. The consequences of this diversion comes into full fruition 1 year later, when Dr. Kane rediscovers Dr. Light's greatest invention at an archaeology excavation site in Ground Zero of New York. Hidden from the public, Dr. Light created a single robot before dying from the red light virus. Mega Man, his greatest achievement, was locked away in a time capsule and stayed dormant until his discovery in 2030 AD. The first ever true AI, Mega Man, is reverse engineered and becomes the founding template for all mechanized workers across the Asian Pacific world. The robotics industry is revitalized, and the mass production of Reploids creates a rising population of sentient robots across the continent. With the inevitable rise of the machine industry, the Illuminati begins to implement plans to force the world's governments into their iron grip. New unrestricted technologies threaten their power over society, and they eventually conclude that only a massive war could force humanity into submitting to Illuminati control. A cyber virus is created, and is pre-programmed into every major robotics template to lay dormant until the time was right. They waited patiently, and kidnapped and conscripted hundreds of Radiants in preparation of a fabricated catastrophic war that could unite the world underneath their absolute control. In 2035, the Omnic Corporation proposes the construction of AI factories for specialized work. Shortly after several self-building factories are made, Omnic Corporation is shut down due to charges of fraud. Schematics are sold off to multiple companies, and their designs are retrofitted for other robotic manufacturing entities. Under Faro Automated Industries, Dr. Elizabeth Sabak makes massive strides in the development of environmental robots to restore decaying portions of the planet. Factories create machines in the thousands, as self-sustained machines are used to reverse engineer decades of damage caused by human climate change. In 2038, the first android uprising is quelled in Detroit City through the mass extermination of sentient machines. This massacre is seen as an atrocity to Reploids in Asia and leads to many anti-human attacks across the Eurasian sphere. The term Maverick is coined for any Reploid that intentionally harms a human being. As the years go on, more and more Mavericks inflict terrorism against humans, escalating tensions between humans and Reploids around the world.
San Bravo, we're reading 70 bogeys in your sector. Please verify.
Very funny, Station. That's a big negative, over.
Yeah, might be a glitch in one of the ACS modules.
San Bravo, be advised, running diagnostics to scan for malfunction.
The skies are clear, Station. You've got yourself some phantom dots. Over.
Zulu X-Ray 6, signs in your sector of some 100 bogeys. Please advise.
Negatory, Station. Scope is clear. I don't know what to tell you. Solar interference, heavy sunspot activity today.
Sierra Delta, We may have a minor ACS fault here. Do you have anything on your scope? Sierra Delta, repeat.
I'm looking at fighter jets over I-95! How the hell did they get through?
Stand by, attempting to contact the nearest unit in that sector.
I read you. This is 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. Sergeant Foley, acting commander of Hunter 2-1. Do you copy? Over.
All stations be advised. Satellite surveillance has been disabled. SOSUS and Paycross rays are inoperative at this time.
(2041), the day of E kicks off the Omnic Crisis. A Reploid by the name of Commander Sigma unites all the Mavericks of the world with a banner of Reploid supremacy. He claims war against humanity, with the goal of purging the world of those he's deemed inferior. With the pieces in place, the Illuminati gifts Sigma with the Omnic virus, helping him initiate a robot uprising in a bet to forcefully unite the world into a single world government. Using Omnic and Pharaoh facilities, the virus spreads across the planet, and robots are mass-produced to inflict catastrophic damage across all the nations of the world. In the beginning, Sigma proved to be a useful tool for the Illuminati, but he soon proved to be uncontrollable by the Illuminati elite. In 2046, Sigma does the unthinkable and betrays the Illuminati. He attacks the Illuminati headquarters with his most powerful forces. Shocked by this betrayal, the Illuminati respond by calling upon all of their enslaved Radiants to defend their base from the Sigma elite forces. Generations of captured Radiants are revealed to the public, as brainwashed super soldiers fought for their lives to defend their Illuminati overlords. The Battle of Hong Kong lasted for several days before Sigma was finally destroyed in the midst of battle. Despite this victory, the Illuminati found themselves in a crippled state. They lost all control of their infected Reploids, and their Radiant conscripts were either obliterated or defected in the aftermath of the battle. The Illuminati were forced to go underground, away from the conflict and unable to participate any further in the war. Despite the death of Sigma, the war raged on. It only escalated after his death. The cyber virus Sigma controlled had evolved in the aftermath, becoming completely uncontrollable by any AI, governmental, or shadow entity. The conflict enters the elf phase of the crisis, wherein the Omnic virus is eliminated, but an evolved virus overtakes a powerful cyber elf and evolves the virus into a more powerful version of itself called the Pharaoh Plague. Rather than exist for Reploid supremacy, the Dark Elf overtook all the infected machines and only intended to wipe out humanity and then itself to leave the planet a completely barren wasteland void of any and all life. Humans and Reploids die in the millions. Radiants nearly go extinct as the Dark Elf targeted them first to eliminate the greatest threats to its existence. The uprising became unmanageable as the once orchestrated war quickly became a true fight for the survival of all life on planet Earth. The world became bleak as the war toll became unbearable for every surviving nation. In a desperate attempt to counter the onslaught, the United Nations initiates Overwatch to strategically hit vital Maverick self-replicating facilities through asymmetrical warfare and advanced strategy. The tides of war are soon turned as the newly united force begins to halt the mass production of Reploid and robotic facilities. In 2051, the machine war finally comes to an end after the Dark Elf is eliminated. All plagued machines are purged of their deadly viruses, and all hostilities between humans and robots come to a raging halt. At the cost of millions of lives and the collapse of half the world's nations, the final shots were fired to end the deadliest threat to human existence. Despite averting global annihilation, the end of the war only sowed further distrust among the surviving human beings. At the climax of the machine war, Area 51 was destroyed in order to eliminate the cyber virus indefinitely. The electromagnetic energy released from its destruction caused a breakdown in vital global communication networks and energy grids around the world. This led to the remaining surviving nations tethering on the brink of collapse. Desperate to maintain national hegemonies, the surviving nations launched multiple wars to seize the leftover resources from destroyed and vulnerable nations. Overwatch, following intense internal debate, disbanded to avoid participation in the escalating conflicts. Overwatch members scattered as they refused to fight in wars that pitted them against one another. While they once held the potential of being the world's beacon for peace and prosperity, the impending wars shattered any hope for a united humanity. The resource wars lasted for 20 years, and was a direct consequence to the robot wars. What followed from the crisis was a more fractured world, with humanity groveling over the last pockets of vital resources. As more weapons were manufactured, more resources and energy demands were needed. It became a vicious cycle of violence, escalating destruction for the preceding 20 years. In 2072, the countdown to Date Zero started on Liberty Island. The remaining remnants of every secret society had all received a mysterious message, claiming that the Statue of Liberty contained Prototype Zero, a legendary Reploid with immense power. Zero was infamous due to being known as Patient Zero because his body contained the original program which infected all machines during the robot wars, and it could easily be utilized to control the world's machines once again, thus bringing forth the original plan for Illuminati world domination. With Zero's location revealed, the remnant secret societies converged on Liberty Island and raced to battle over control for Zero's corpse. Unbeknownst to them, in the aftermath of the robot wars, most surviving Radiants joined supremacist groups to enact vengeance against their former Illuminati overlords. The First Sons, an ancient cult that worshipped supernatural beings, was the most notorious among these groups. They had innate knowledge of secret societies and promised Radiants that they could enact vengeance for the Illuminati sins during the war. In a bid to get all the secret societies to converge in a single place, they leaked the location of Zero's body and prepared their forces for a surprise attack. At the height of the battle for Liberty Island, the First Sons quietly surrounded the island and waited for the opportunity to strike. In an act of fury and vengeance, the First Sons launched a surprise attack by scorching the island with flames. The whole landscape was set ablaze, and the Statue of Liberty became brittle through the immense heat from the radiant powers. All of the world's shadow organizations were eradicated in a single night. The cultural symbol for Reploids, Radiants, and the United States was wiped out in the name of retribution. With the last vestiges of stability destroyed, no entity was left to safeguard the world from nuclear Armageddon. In 2077, the United States and China finally launched their thermonuclear arsenals. The doomsday clock ticks to 12, as nuclear Armageddon befalls over the biospheres of Earth. The species that had once proudly nailed their god to a cross, followed through by setting their own Garden of Eden ablaze. The monoliths of humanity crumbled, alongside the cries of condemned billions. A species which overcame interstellar and interdimensional adversity was brought down by its own hand. Mankind's successes, struggles, and progress fell to a roaring halt as the golden age of humanity came to a blazing end.